The idea is fine. That is a pushable serve. Yes, it's high over the net. It can probably be flicked. It can probably even be looped. But there's nothing inherently wrong with pushing. However, your paddle is contacting the ball at the wrong point. If you look at where the ball is hitting your paddle. And so it results in the same issue. I mean, this is really high up on the rubber. So, one, you're not able to get much underspin because how are you going to get underspin when the paddle's already past the ball? Two, the ball's going to pop up. And three, it's going to come very shallow. And again, all three of those things are recipes to allow your opponent to take initiative on the point. Um, so ideally, if you're going to push this ball, I would recommend taking it right off the bounce. If you watch, I'll put a clip on the screen now. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louie here, and welcome to a brand new VOD review. Today we have Juan from Argentina, aka Seneca, who has given us his first submission. He plays with a Gallo Anna Cadena blade, which I'm not gonna lie, I've never heard of that before, so I'm actually gonna look it up real quick. Very rare that I haven't heard of a blade. Huh. So maybe it's a sponsored player and a Latin American brand, but I haven't heard of this blade. Should be fine. Forehand and backhand rubbers are pretty standard. Hurricane is a very difficult rubber to play with, so I'll take a look at the technique and I might make a recommendation that you need to change at the end of the video, but it's very rare that I do because normally equipment is not as important as people make it out to be. But overall, it seems okay. I'll take a look. Rating, not sure. Haven't played any official tournaments, but have a provincial amateur circuit where it starts at about 1,000 and the top players go up to 2,800, which seems pretty similar to our system. So 1,200 seems like it would probably be about 1,200 here, just based on this explanation. For goals, at the moment, I want to be able to top long serves and hit easy balls because I tend to doubt what to do and end up pushing them. Very common mistake. And I also want to have more consistency with the ball in general. I can hit backhand consistently while training or doing exercises, but in matches, I tend to drive the ball instead of topping it. I also think that I need to get better in some way with my pushes because I sometimes get attacked a lot. Practice frequency, 6 hours per week, 2 hours per day, 3 times a week. That's a great frequency. Sometimes a little more, 2 days in the afternoon and 1 late night. We train with a small group of 4 to 6 people in a cultural center with an amateur coach. We usually warm up with flat hits, tops, and pushes, then some exercise given by the coach, mobility, improved technique, etc., where she gives us some feedback, and then an hour of games between us. Okay. Started training a year and 5 months ago, 33 years old. Also played some amateur tournaments, and today achieved 9 podiums in 26 tournaments, but never champion. I played ping pong a lot as a child and on school. Cool. Okay. It looks like we have 2 games. They're both best of threes, so they're shorter games. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get to both of them as long as I don't ramble on too long in the first one. First one was filmed July of this year, so this is the more recent match, and was an amateur tournament. Felt good playing this match. The second one was filmed June of this year, so it's a little bit older. Was with a training partner, rank a little bit higher. So a little bit tired. Okay, sounds good. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the more recent one. And to everyone watching at home, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So our protagonist is the player on this side of the table. So this is Juan. I've watched the first part of the game just to kind of get a feel for what's going on, but other than that, I haven't really watched much. So going into it blind, I'll point out stuff as I see it. Let's go ahead and get started. It's a very nice forehand. That's fine. On this specific ball, I can see what you mean with the hesitation in the sense that you want to loop it, but I think you're not certain that the ball is coming back long. But because your serve came long, your first bounce was here, your second bounce is going to come half long. you can kind of use that to gauge where your opponent's shot is going to land, and that kind of is the tell that his shot is almost certainly going to come long as well, unless he's a very high level player. But honestly, it's no problem. Like that's a very difficult shot to play, so it's fine. It's fine. First time you've seen the serve. So this push here, it's actually fine that you're pushing this serve. Like the actual shot is fine. The execution needs some work. So what I want you to look at is where the ball hits your paddle, because that's the main issue with this push. Again, the idea of pushing the serve is fine. The execution is where you go wrong. It's kind of tough to see, but you're hitting the ball too far up on the paddle. You're kind of hitting it in the top half of the paddle right here. So you're not getting as much backspin as you could. This is also causing the ball to come high over the net, and it's also causing the ball to come very shallow. And all three of those things allow your opponent to play. So all three of those things cause your ball to go high and shallow, just like that, and it allows your opponent to play this shot. That's fine. That's fine as well. Nice return. That's good. And really, so like he gave you that serve the first time. Oops. You popped it up. You misread it. And so to everyone watching at home, when I've done my videos on this is how you return tricky serves, what Juan just did is the perfect example of how to deal with a serve like this. When I say just meet the ball to the paddle and push it forwards like you're blocking, that's all you need. This is all you need against a serve like that. Now, the placement isn't perfect. The placement could have been deeper. It could have been to one of the corners. But the fundamental idea there is perfect, and that's exactly how you want to respond to a serve like that. Make them prove they can actually follow up on the serve, and at least it gets you into the rally. Okay, so same thing on the forehand push here. If you take a look at where you're contacting the ball, the idea is fine. That is a pushable serve. Yes, it's high over the net. It can probably be flicked. It can probably even be looped. But there's nothing inherently wrong with pushing. However, your paddle is contacting the ball at the wrong point. If you look at where the ball is hitting your paddle. And so it results in the same issue. I mean, this is really high up on the rubber. So, one, you're not able to get much underspin, because how are you going to get underspin when the paddle's already past the ball? Two, the ball's going to pop up. And three, it's going to come very shallow. And again, all three of those things are recipes to allow your opponent to take initiative on the point. So ideally, if you're going to push this ball, I would recommend taking it right off the bounce. If you watch, I'll put a clip on the screen now. So if you look at that clip when I touch, you can see it's very off the bounce and it keeps the shot nice and clean. That's kind of what you want to go for on shots like this. If not directly off the bounce, then you actually have to wait. And I'm going to open up Microsoft Paint. Against a short serve, or against a serve that you're pushing, it's kind of counterintuitive. So the ball bounces, and then it rises, and then it falls, and of course it'll either bounce again, or it'll come long. You can either contact the ball right here, right off the bounce, because the ball is at its lowest point, so that means the ball is going to stay very low, or you can contact the ball right here, at the end of the bounce, right before it's going to hit the table, which is very counterintuitive, because like if you're looping underspin or you're driving, you would never ever take the ball right here, because this is just going to result in a very late shot. But the issue is if you're pushing and you take the ball while it's right here, somewhere in this spot, you're taking the ball when it's very high. And so this results in your shot, even if you time it perfectly, just because of the way physics work, if you take the ball at this height, it's going to bounce and come back up to close to that height. Whereas if you take the ball at this height, it's going to bounce and it's not going to come up as high. So that's the idea behind it. You either want to take it very early off the bounce or you want to take it very late right before it's going to bounce again, but you don't want to take these returns at the top of the bounce, as counterintuitive as that may sound. And you can see it's very shallow, and it's just, this is impossible to predict. So there's no issue with you missing the shot, it's just the return made it difficult for you. That's fine. That was a better push. Still kind of the same issue. I'm going to put it in slow motion just to see where it landed on your paddle, because I want to say it was still in the top half. Yeah, so again. Oops. Wrong color. Right in the top part of the paddle, and again, it's the same issues I talked about. Now, again, this serve, if you're playing at a professional level, the serve has to be hit. But at this level, and even at like a very, very high amateur level, even at a semi-professional level, there's nothing inherently wrong with pushing this ball if you believe that you are better than your opponent in the rally. We just need to work on the execution of the shot. Yeah. Now this ball, this should 100% be hit. And again, because your serve is coming relatively long, you should 100% just expect the return to come long until he proves he can touch it short. Because it's very, 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 very difficult to take a long serve and then put it short. So after this, especially considering that you've given him this placement several times, and each time you've given him that placement, it's come to your forehand. At this point, when you give this serve and you see the push, you should just be ready for forehand loop. And it looks like you are, and then you change your mind and push. And there's nothing I can say to fix, like, it's kind of a mental block. There's nothing I can say to fix that other than go for it, and you're probably going to miss, but it's fine. Like right there, you went for it, you landed the shot, and you won the point. It's fine. Push is still not as solid as it could be. And again, that serve, ideally, like if we're playing perfect table tennis, should be hit. But there's nothing inherently wrong with the push as long as it's high quality. Yeah, same. We really need to work on the pushes. Now, this serve, I will say, could probably, even though it's not quite as top spinny as the one earlier in the game, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so this like drive you play against his serve here on the backhand where you just meet the ball to the paddle and drive it forwards. I know this serve is much easier to read. It's like pure topspin. You can actually do something similar on the forehand side where it doesn't need to be like a super fancy flip kill. Just meet the ball to the paddle, flat, like kind of a 90-degree angle, push it forwards, nice and stable, drive it, and basically it's here's my shot, show me what you got, I think I can beat you in the rally. Very nice serve. That's fine. Nice. Perfect return. Yeah, same issue on the push. The reason you're struggling so much to handle his loop is because you're not always taking the ball in the most optimal spot. So here you are slightly more in the middle, but your body is very out of position. And I'm sure you know the footwork. Your feet absolutely shouldn't be like this. As you're playing the push, you're just opening this up to the forehand. And so now you have to worry about this, which then makes this shot more vulnerable. It's a very messy way to return the serve. Just make sure that you shuffle. Let the ball bounce. Keep your feet shoulder width apart. Try not to turn your body like this. let the ball bounce, and it'll probably come longer than you expect. And again, if you're not going to take it immediately off the bounce very early, then you need to let it drop and come to about net height before you return it. Because if you take it at the top of the bounce, it's just going to pop up, and it's going to bounce the same height that you took it from. Which, again, just makes it very hard to predict what your opponent's going to do. That's good. That's fine. It's lucky. Nice. Great serve. Yeah. Nice. However, if you look at the push, again, it's the same issue. Look at where you took the ball. Alright, game 2. That has to be hit. And again, it doesn't need to be a fancy flip. All you have to do on that ball is meet the paddle to the ball, 90-degree angle, directly behind the ball. So your paddle should be right here, like covering the ball, and then just drive forwards. Nothing fancy, but 100% has to be hit. That's fine. It's a good miss. Nice, very good. Nice, that was your best push so far. Now, another thing that I'll point out is it's very, very difficult to predict, or not predict, but it's very, very difficult to always know exactly when the right time to attack is if you're just talking about the third and fourth ball. So like you serve, they push. That ball that they push is very difficult to decide on what to do with sometimes because you don't know if it's going to be short, long, where it's going. Same idea, like they serve, you return, you get the ball back. Sometimes it's hard. But if you play a really, really high quality push, so like for example in this point you played an excellent push, it was low, it was long, and your opponent doesn't attack it, then as a rule of thumb you always attack that next ball. So again, if you push, it's a perfect push, it's low, it's very long, and they don't attack, you have to attack that next ball because it's the most predictable ball you can get in table tennis. You know 100% that that ball will come back long, you know where it's going, and you know what spin is on it. So it's like all 3 criteria for an easy ball to attack are met. You have to just go for it. But if you, again, decide to push, you lose the advantage that you gave yourself. Like right there. So perfect push. It's low, it's long, it's to the backhand. He's not looping it. You can tell that he's just going to push. It's just going to come right back long to your backhand. Just instinctually, this is a ball that should always be attacked because you'll always know where this ball is going. Nice spin. Really good. Yeah, tentative. So, the first point of this game, he gave you this serve and you popped it up. Mentally, when you did that, you have to make a note. Okay, he gives me this action, it's topspin. He just gave you the same action again. He hasn't proved that it's suddenly going to be underspin now. If he did change it and it's suddenly underspin and he's just got really deceptive serves, great job. He's just a good player and you miss in the net, whatever. But you have to just assume, if you can't read it, that it's topspin until he proves otherwise. So this one, you almost have to have the mentality of you'd rather miss in the net than miss out. If you miss in the net, be proud of yourself. If you miss it out, then you should be disappointed that you made the same mistake twice. And in this case, you didn't miss out, but you popped it up, which is basically the same thing. Tentative. Yeah, I'll put it in your notes, but basically, in general, you give a long ball, you don't have to second guess. If you give a long ball and you want to attack, you have to just know that it's almost always going to come long. Maybe 1 in 100 will come short, and when that happens, you'll lose the point. But 99% of the time, you play long, the ball comes long, and it's just a green light to attack. Now, if you were playing short and you were complicating, it would be tougher, but you're setting your shots up very well, and then you're just not going for them. Nice. Great forehand. Nice. Very nice. Okay, so it's 6-10, and you just proved that you know how to go for this shot. I'll put this in your notes as well. You just proved that you know exactly how to deal with this shot correctly. Like you proved in a perfect world with no pressure that you know exactly what to do with this serve, and yet you had been pushing it every single point until you were up 10-6. Why? Because you're scared to lose. So you need to, every single point, have the mentality that you're winning 10-6 or winning 10-0 and not be so results oriented. Because if you had played like this from the beginning of the game and kind of developed the feeling for the shot against his spin throughout the game, I guarantee that this shot would have landed. But this is the first time you're going for the shot, and it's only again because you have match point and you feel like now you can afford to make mistakes. You can't have this mentality. It has to be a shot that if you know it's the right shot and you know you should be playing it, you just have to go for it automatically. And if you lose, you lose. And then you say, okay, I need to work on this shot. But you can't chicken out of playing the shot because you're scared to miss it. Yeah, same. That's fine. Good spin. Nice. Good game. Alright, on to match number 2. Alright, so this is the second match, this side of the table, and because it's 8 minutes, I don't know if I'm going to get through the whole thing, just because I don't want the video to run too long. But I will try to view as much as I can until I kind of notice some common patterns. But let's see, this is the older match. Training partner, he's a little stronger. It was after 2 hours of training, so you're tired. Lost this one 1-2. Okay, let's take a look. That's fine. Great idea. So there again, same issue that I talked about in the other game. It's like, okay, the serve is long, fine. You didn't want to hit it. You push to his backhand, but that push is really good. It's deep, it's low, it's spinny, and he didn't hit it. So again, 3 things. It's a good push, it's spinny, and he doesn't hit it. He pushes it back. If all 3 of those things are met, and you're getting this predictable ball, this shot 100% always has to be hit. But instead you push again, and you rely on him making a mistake instead of taking the initiative yourself. Same. It's fine though. Yeah, same issue on the push. Look at where you're taking the ball. It's not every time, but again, one, you're taking it at the top of the bounce, so no matter what, it's going to go over the net and bounce back up to roughly the height you hit it from, so it's always going to be slightly high. But second, you're taking it right on the end of your paddle, so you're limiting your range of motion and how much spin you can get on the ball, and it's just making it too difficult for yourself. That's good though. Yeah. I think I've seen a few of these now where you're making the unforced error on the forehand. I'm not a fan of the hurricane on the forehand for you. And I say that because you like to play this spinny loop. You like to kind of throw it up with spin, and then you like to go back and continue to throw it up with spin. And Hurricane is not designed for that. Hurricane is designed for a very, very whippy, fast motion through the ball. Basically, very, very stable technique every shot. And the way you're playing is not wrong. It's just very difficult to do with this rubber without making a ton of unforced errors. Same. Yeah. You hit eventually, but it was too late. Like, you won the point, but so again, you play, even right here, you play a long spinny push deep to the backhand and he doesn't attack. just attack that next ball. It doesn't have to be something you think about. Just automatically you should be attacking. Take the initiative as soon as you can. Yeah, like the quality on the loop there is really shallow. And your technique is fine, which leads me to I think the Hurricane is just too difficult to play with, and I would recommend switching away from it if you can. So rule of thumb, generally speaking, backhand pendulum to your serve, if it comes to your backhand, can always be hit. Anytime it's a backhand pendulum where your opponent is actually swiping to the side, even if it has some underspin on it, just because of the way the side spin works in relation to a right-handed player's backhand, it's one of the easiest serves to hit, and I would say in general you should just go for this shot more, and you'll be surprised how easy it is to get it over the net. It's very, very rare that you'll get a backhand pendulum serve that you put into the net. So just kind of something that you'll get with pattern recognition, but it's a very, very easy serve to hit. And same with reverse pendulum serves to your backhand, hook serves to your backhand, tomahawk serves to your backhand. They all have the same type of side spin on them. They're all very, very easy to hit on the backhand. That's good. Alright, so I'm gonna cut it there. I know I'm only 2 minutes in, but I'm seeing a lot of the same sort of patterns that I saw in the first game. And I can tell that you're tired here, so it's not you playing at your best. And I'm sure some of the things I'm noticing are just because you're tired. But let me write your notes up, and I will be back. All right, so I've got a few things that I would love for you to work on. Firstly, and most importantly, is you need to practice your pushes more, which sounds, it's the most frustrating thing. I know when I tell players this, they hate it because they want to practice looping and counter looping and banana flips and all this fun stuff, but your biggest issue right now is the quality of your pushes. It sucks that not saying like having to work on this sucks. I know it's not fun to work on, but we have to get it perfect before we can work on other things. So firstly, you either need to, timing-wise, take it right off the bounce or right at the bottom of the bounce. On a push or a touch, the top of the bounce is no good because the ball will always bounce back up to that height or roughly close to that height for your opponent, which makes it easy to hit. You also need to focus on catching the ball closer to the front of your racket because right now it's landing very close to the end of it, which again results in less spin because you have less range of motion, and it causes your ball to come very shallow, which in turn gives your opponent predictable balls, makes it very hard for you to gauge what you're doing. Next thing, and also very important, is you need more confidence on the predictable balls. So for example, you push very long with spin, backspin, and your opponent does not loop. This ball needs to be hit 100% of the time because it will almost never come back short. Another example, say you pop up a topspin serve and your opponent wins the point, and then a few points later you get the exact same serve. You have to assume it's topspin and just go for it. If you miss, you miss, but that's how you're going to learn. Just to highlight this, at 10-6 in the last game, or the first game that you submitted, you finally went for the right shot on your backhand, but you hadn't gone for it a single time before this point. And so the question is, why didn't you go for it earlier if you knew it was the right shot to play? All right, next, anytime you're playing a right-handed player who gives you backhand pendulum, reverse pendulum, tomahawk, piston, etc. to your backhand, I want you to hit those balls at least 70% of the time. So the next match you submit, I will be checking for this because it's a very, very intuitive shot to hit. It's just, again, a confidence thing where you have to force yourself to go for it, and you'll be shocked how little you miss in the net against these types of serves. And really, in general, right now, I would say if you're going to go for a shot, you should try to miss in the, not try to miss in the net, but you should try not to miss out to the point where if you miss in the net, you should be fine with that and happy with it. And if you miss out or pop the ball up, you should be really disappointed because that's your biggest issue right now. It's just a lot of pop-ups, a lot of balls that are missing long, missing the net, and then adjust from there instead of missing out and adjusting from there. And then finally, only if you can, because I know equipment can be expensive, But if at all possible, I would strongly recommend getting off of Hurricane. It does seem to be hurting your game. The shot quality is not as good as it would be with some other rubbers. You're making unforced errors just because the rubber is so unforgiving. It's a very, very difficult rubber to play with. And so I would recommend getting off of it. But that's going to do it for this VOD review. I do hope that was helpful. And I hope you submit another match soon because you have a lot of good stuff. Like your technique is very good. Your ready position is good. A lot of your shots are high quality. We just need to tidy up some of this stuff. And I think you'll, just from fixing this stuff, improve a couple 100 points. And then you'll be able to keep going from there. To everyone watching at home, thank you all so much for watching as well. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a big thumbs up. Leave any comments below if you've got questions. And if you are interested in a VOD review for yourself, make sure to join my Discord server. I've got instructions and details in there. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching again, and until next time.